What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right. I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 556 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB, it's Matt, coming at you from Underground Studios. We got a lot to dive into. The MLB trade deadline has come and gone, and the Phillies have two new members of their roster to push towards yet another Red October. We'll get into those moves, whether we like them, love them, or not impressed. We'll get into the Eagles, we'll get into the Union, and whatever else comes to mind or comes via the old comment section. If you're watching live on twitch.tv/undergroundsportsphi, chime in the comment section. But before we get into all of that, make sure you're following us on all the socials at UndergroundPHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all at UndergroundPHI. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia, and helps us do more cool stuff that we're planning on doing, and makes it even better. So go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. We just announced on the most recent episode that it will no longer be the Dan Russo show, obviously, because Coach Russo has stepped down as head coach of Vineland High School football, but Coach Guzman confirmed with me he is going to take the reins and is now the new host of the Vineland High School football coaches show that we are working on a new name for, but that is coming back this fall. Eagles Enemies coming back this fall. You get Top Bins on there with Matt and Dom. You get Streamer Season, Outside the Box, getting the whole 9 yards. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. And like I mentioned, this show is presented by the City of Vineland, who just had their national night out that I saw was a wild success. And the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on their social media pages, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and or YouTube. Through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. A big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. What's going on, Matt?
Living the dream.
The MLB trade deadline has come and gone. Back-to-back years of the deadline being in August. It's brought to you by our awesome merch partners over at PHI Apparel Company. They're running an awesome sale right now, too, for football gear that they have on their website. All of their Eagles merch, including our Philly Dog shirt that we created in tandem with them. You can get 20% off right now by using code KG20 in honor of the Kelly Green Eagles jerseys being back. It's going to be a little bit cheaper than some of those jerseys, too, that we're running around and that are being sold for exponential prices on the secondary market. So go to phiapparel.co so you can stand out in the crowd. You can get your Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch for all of our podcasts. Get your Kelly Green Eagles merch, your Philly Dog shirt, which just came out. The Eagles Georgia players have a group chat now, since I believe there are 7 of them. And the group chat is called Philly Dogs. We made that shirt back in April, and I guess they see our merch. We want to get it to them, and you can rock it as well. phiapparel.co, and anytime you can use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all merch orders. It's the most effective way to support everything we're doing. And when you get your merch, be sure to tag us, tag PHI Apparel Company. We'll repost it. I'm sure they will too. phiapparel.co, Code Underground for 10% off, and all football gear through the end of this week. Code KG20 for 20% off. Phillies make 2 moves at the deadline. Matt, they get what everybody, I love this nickname for him. He's South Philly Shohei, Michael Lorenzen, who famously did what Shohei was doing to a much lesser degree, but was the pitcher that was known for hitting home runs and could play a little bit of the outfield in his time in Cincinnati. Now he's in the Phillies rotation. They're going to a 6-man rotation for the next couple of weeks because the Phillies don't have an off day, I think, until the 14th of August. And then they get Rodolfo Castro, who all of you will famously remember him as the member of the Pittsburgh Pirates a couple years ago who was stealing third base and his cell phone fell out of his pocket. That is Rodolfo Castro. He is the perfect Philadelphia Philly. I like these 2 moves. The Phillies didn't have to give up too much to get either of them. Bailey Falter goes to Pittsburgh for Rodolfo Castro. The Phillies don't get to the World Series, let's be honest, without Bailey Falter last year. You know, as much as he struggled this year, last year he was such a dependable pitcher down the stretch, pitched in the postseason, and the Phillies don't get to Game 6 of the World Series without Bailey Falter. So salute to Bailey Falter. And then they give up an infield prospect who a lot of people were complaining because he's a high-end prospect in their system, and I hate to break it to everybody. The prospect the Phillies gave up, and I'm going to pull his name up now so I don't butcher it, Hao-Yu Lee. He plays the middle infield positions, which are going to be blockaded for the next decade.
Yes.
If we've learned anything in Dave Dombrowski's tenure as, you know, the head honcho of the Phillies and the way he makes trades involving prospects, he trades prospects that the Phillies have a surplus of beneath their high-end talented guys. Hao-Yu Lee was one of those guys. They have Bryson Stott at second base. They have Trey Turner at shortstop. They just drafted Aiden Miller, who plays third and shortstop. Alec Bohm is here at third base. Hao-Yu Lee was never going to see the light of day at the major league level in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. So you send him to a team that is, you know, looking for talent, looking to rebuild. You have a connection with the Detroit Tigers. Michael Lorenzen has a relationship with a number of players on this Phillies team, from Nick Castellanos. They played together in Cincinnati. He played with Bryce Harper when they were on the 16 and under Worlds team. He played with Trey Turner at the Collegiate World Series. He played with Brandon Marsh in L.A. He's got good relationships with a ton of guys on this team. You add him into this mix of what everybody calls the one singular brain cell Philadelphia Phillies. I think he's a perfect fit for what the Phillies needed from a pitching standpoint at the trade deadline.
Brandon Marsh had this to say about Lorenzen, on how he'll fit into the clubhouse. Like a glove, he's a great guy. He's awesome. Big biceps, big chest, nice shoes. So that is a ringing endorsement, I think there. It's kind of, sorry. It's exactly what we wanted, I think, out of the trade deadline for the Phillies. I think we talked a lot about really wanted to add a starting pitcher who could fill in on the back end, and how important it's going to be to get Wheeler, to get Nola some rest, maybe even take a little bit of burden off the bullpen, because we've had to dip there the last few weeks. Because the Phillies, by the way, have just been had a real bad habit, or a good habit, I guess, depending on really how you want to look at it, of being in 1 or 2 score games. They've been in really a lot of tight games over the last few weeks. I think everyone's been kind of white knuckling it to this point, and this is going to give you, I think, a little bit of that breathing room, and it's similar to what we did last year too, where you kind of extend that rotation a little bit. Again, if someone does pick up an injury, you've got a little bit more insurance now, and I think it's going to allow them to rotate. And he's honestly a decent back half pitcher too. I think all the way around. Yeah, he is the if we have Ohtani at home, kind of situation. It's a bummer we finally get someone like that after we get rid of the DP. But I just think I think it's a nice move, and yeah, I think all across the board the Phillies, it wasn't extravagant. I don't think we expected it to be. I don't think either the prospects we gave up either or players that we gave up are really anything that I just. People have a tendency to really overrate their own prospects, and we've seen that with the Phillies over the years. And I would say it's hard to imagine too many guys or think of too many guys that have really burned us in the last 5 or 6 years, and we have moved on from quite a few guys. So there's obviously some, that have gone and had good major league careers, but largely speaking, you have to push in your chips sometimes. And, when this team is pushing really hard for a wild card spot coming off the back of a World Series appearance, I think this is the right time to maybe, cash in some of those chips a little bit. So I like it. I think, again, it's a good addition. It's kind of exactly what we had hoped for. And, the Phillies could theoretically still make moves too. There's if you think of like the way this roster had changed even from August, in years past, we still Didi Gregorius, and obviously he did not become or end up being really a part of the Phillies team in the final months. So, things could still change. But I do think this, largely speaking, is probably where the Phillies are. And this also, too, like Lorenzen is cost controlled, right? For a few, he is, or is this a rental?
I think he's a rental, but he's the type of guy, he's a free agent going into 2024. He's the type of guy, though, that, like, you trade for him now, I think it would be one of the first moves, if he plays well down the stretch, that, like, it would not shock me if the Phillies signed him to, like, a 2-year deal in the offseason.
So I was just thinking, because we were talking about, too, that, with Painter's injury, that maybe this changes the way they look at the trade deadline and who they want to get, whether that's someone on a cost-controlled contract, which might cost you a little bit more, or someone that they like this, that maybe they want to see for 2 months and maybe get a better idea on if they want to extend. So I think it's good. Dombrowski, listen, I don't want to like overplay my hand a little bit here, but too much here, but I think he's one of the better executives in Philly. I think I think he's in the not quite in the Howie.
I think he's
stratosphere,
firmly entrenched, like number 2 behind
but
Howie.
I think he's up there. Like in his time here, he's been aggressive, and honestly, a lot of his decisions have paid off for us.
Aggressive and smart.
Yeah, nothing has been outlandish. I wouldn't say there's really not been a big all-in kind of push, because the Phillies haven't really needed to be. The Phillies have not been like on a Braves pace where it's like, this is the year. Like this is where you really go all in, because whatever weakness you have, fill it, because this is your best shot. But yeah, I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done and what just a difference it's been. In front office management over the last few seasons with him, and to me, this just makes me very hopeful for the rest of the Phillies season. So.
And Rodolfo Castro just turned 24. So he's super young. A lot of people apparently, like in Pirates circles, from what I was gathering on Twitter, were surprised that they gave up on him so quickly.
That's the interesting thing about Dombrowski, too, is like, it's been a lot of he was known, I think he came with a reputation at least for pushing in and getting like the veteran stars and, kind of depleting the farm system and, going all in on today's stars. You look at like, Brandon Marsh is a perfect example, right? Like of get this guy that is young and that you feel like can develop and has the tools that you want and, build from there. And I think, again, you're seeing that there with Rodolfo too, that you're getting a younger player that you can develop that fills a need.
He's a switch hitter.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe not the approach that we expected with Dombrowski, right? And again, I don't know this his reputation coming in, but this team has not gotten old, under Dombrowski. It's not like we've been going in again on all these established veterans. Now I think the only time we've really done that, funnily enough, is with like relief pitching. We love a former Kimbrel type of signing, right? Like that has definitely been Cy Gibson last year too. Like we love to go in and get the sort of established veteran guys there, but largely speaking, even Trey Turner, right? Like you're getting someone, what we hoped was in his prime career. But kind of going after those guys rather than a different kind of profile.
Which happy 1-year anniversary of Marsh Madness to all who celebrate. Brandon Marsh has officially been a Philly for a year. He has some ups and downs, but one of the more consistent players, I think, in this Phillies lineup over the last year. And I think trading for Brandon Marsh is going to go down as one of the more important moves in recent Phillies history in terms of just like solidifying a position that the Phillies were longing for since Shane Victorino.
Yeah, I think again, he's filled a great need, and has been fantastic. And I think again, people always assume that he's like this older guy, and I think for a while he was like the youngest Philly that we had. I think he's just one of those people that has probably looked about 31 since he was 15. You know.
Yeah. I know you and I both love looking at Baseball Reference and finding fun baseball player names. Can you guess the 2 nicknames that Michael Lorenzen has listed on his Baseball Reference page?
I have no idea. These things are always absolutely insane. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about this exact thing. They were reading off like NFL players' nicknames, and one of Tom Brady's is the Pharaoh. Where the hell does that come from? No one has ever called him that. One of Kevin Durant's was the Servant. No one has ever called Kevin Durant the Servant. No one has ever done that.
That's hilarious.
I'm waiting in anticipation though for the Servant.
So number 1, he might have to change this one now that he's in Philadelphia. But it's Cowboy.
Okay.
The other one,
is he like from Texas or something?
He is. Let's see. He's from Anaheim, California.
Okay, so no.
The other one fits Anaheim and fits his aesthetic. Zen Master.
Okay, yeah, that's a little better. 2 very different vibes. I just want to say, when I think of Cowboy, I don't think of Zen. And when I think of
to
Zen,
the ha.
Yeah, I do not think of those things being related at all.
I like this move. He's going to be wearing number 22 for the Phillies. I think that's a great number for him. Throughout his career, he's worn number 50, 21, and 25. So he's adding a new number to the repertoire there. He's also making his debut on Thursday. So Michael Lorenzen's Phillies debut will be in the powder blues.
Very nice.
It's going to be beautiful. Rodolfo Castro will wear number 29 for the Phillies. That move, to me, where Lorenzen is a bit more of an escalated version of trading for Noah Syndergaard last year, in my opinion, because Lorenzen this year, an all-star. He's having a career year in terms of just like the way he's performed and the way that I think a lot of people view him. He's got a 3.58 ERA this year in 18 games. He's 5-7 playing for the Detroit Tigers, who are, one of the worst teams in terms of run production to help your pitchers. He's a bit more of an escalated version of that, but the Rodolfo Castro trade reminds me kind of Edmundo Sosa-esque, where you get this utility infielder that team desperately needs, obviously, for a number of reasons. But he's also like super young, and I feel like he's a player that if he continues to develop the way that I think Dombrowski hopes he will, he's a guy that could be here kind of long term.
Absolutely. And even Edmundo Sosa, right? Like he's been given opportunities within this team too. Especially the beginning of this season, hasn't worked out as fully as you'd like, but had moments in the playoffs last year too. So
sparked that run against the Cardinals,
right? So you hope that that impact can be the same, and it just I think really gears the Phillies up for what should be honestly a very exciting run in now. Because now you're really starting to look ahead as we turn into August, at the rest of the wild card, and it becomes a little more serious now. And that's started too with this Marlins series, which has gone great. You would have loved to play Pittsburgh a little better, and come out with a better record from that series. But, they come into this series with big expectations, and now have started out really well. So that's a big positive. Both of these guys I think are just really nice additions. Again, not peel your paint off type of stuff, but a really good spot for the Phillies.
And Castro signed through 2023 at $725,000, but he's not arbitration eligible until 2026, and he's not a free agent until 2029. And the fact
running backs had it bad.
The fact that you got that for Bailey Falter at this value of Bailey Falter, that's robbery to me, because this is a guy I think you pair him up with Kevin Long, you pair him up with the guys on this roster to just teach him the ways of the major leagues and everything, with him being as young as he is at only 24 years old. That could end up being a long-term heist when we look back at it, and that's no slight to Bailey Falter whatsoever, but you kind of traded him at the lowest point of his value, and you're getting a guy back who's not arbitration eligible for another 3 seasons. So I think overall, I'd grade this a solid A. Trade deadline for Dave Dombrowski, back-to-back years where I think he's done the right things to acquire the pieces that this team needed while, not mortgaging the future too much. And, like you said, coming in, we were nervous about Dave Dombrowski being, the guy in charge for the Phillies because he's notorious for blowing up farm systems and, trading away the youth to go all in on one singular World Series. And I feel like he has done the complete opposite of that in the best ways with the Phillies where, sure, he's traded high-level prospects, but it is those prospects that are in surplus, that are going to be blocked from the major league level, and getting talent back that has helped this team win and obviously last year go 6 games into a World Series. And I think these 2 moves are going to help them as well. And you didn't give up pretty much anything that is going to affect you long-term.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a measured approach, and I like it.
Some of the other moves made across Major League Baseball. Matt, can we post the guy on the grave chucking up the peace sign with the Mets?
It's quite the turnaround to go from committing all that money to Scherzer and Verlander and be like, just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, I was just kidding. Come on.
What murder? I mean, shout out to Justin Verlander, ultimate bag chaser. Just leaves, get paid, right back to Houston, and he's going to probably turn back into a Cy Young candidate and probably get him back to the World Series. That's just
some true sicko shit by old Uncle Stevie by trading Scherzer and Verlander, both to Texas, rivals, both competing for the AL West crown.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said, if things don't improve, we're gonna make some moves at the deadline, and he's a man of his word, at least on that end. It is hilarious. I will be laughing about it for I don't know how long.
This is the epitome of low Mets.
I mean, it's kind of shocking, just when you consider like the pitching talent that has left New York over the last 5 years. If you could compile the pitching that the Mets have lost and the positional players that the Nationals have lost, you legitimately would have probably 100-win baseball team. I think you would. It's shocking. It's shocking just what the castaways of the NL East have accomplished.
I was crying. I forget who tweeted, but somebody said you could literally create a World Series rotation with the pitchers that the Mets have lost over the years. And somebody quotes me and said, yeah, the Phillies prove that.
Yeah, and I mean, Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker,
by
Wheeler.
the way, best pitcher in baseball.
Most wins, baby.
I mean,
until further notice, wins are the most important pitcher stat.
I have always said
grading Cy Young candidate.
I have always said that win. Well, that's what I heard last year. That didn't.
Yeah.
That innings pitched and being the main focal point of your team didn't matter. It was just about the counting numbers. And I mean, there's really no more important counting number than wins, baby.
As Al Davis once said, just win, baby.
Yeah,
That's what Taijuan Walker does. He puts the W in win.
Talk about a turnaround. Because first 2 months of this season, very, very rough. The last few, I'm almost half joking when I said best pitcher in baseball. Because he's legitimately been...
Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, he's been very, very good.
Print the shirts.
His come-on has been fantastic. And again, just even back to the trade deadline stuff. You have, I think, Taijuan continues that. You keep Wheeler and Nola rested and healthy. That is a very, nice top 3.
Ranger had a nice bounce back this
Rangers
week.
Has a nice back. You have 4 playoff starters that the Phillies can roll out. That was not the case last year. I really think they were lacking on that 4th. And I think that puts you in a good spot. I think that makes me happy personally. So,
yeah, and I mean, you add Lorenzen to the mix. Christopher Sanchez has pitched very well.
Yeah.
And then playoff time, you're throwing a guy who was an all-star in Michael Lorenzen, more than likely into the bullpen.
Yeah.
As a guy who can come in, pitch innings, and be versatile for you. And, say one of your pitchers has a not-so-hot start to a playoff game. You're throwing another starter out on the mound who has been deployed in relief before in his career. And I think we can't overstate it enough, too. Michael Lorenzen is coming to the Phillies where Caleb Cottom is his pitching coach again, who was his pitching coach in Cincinnati. So I think that's also a huge boost. You're adding his all-star season now to a pitching coach that he's extremely familiar and comfortable with, I think that's not getting talked about enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Some of the other moves made around Major League Baseball. Thank God we didn't get Tommy Pham.
Yeah,
I was nervous for a hot minute when the tweet about Tommy Pham peeking his head into the manager's office and then he left in street clothes. I was so nervous that we were going to get a Todd Zalecki tweet that Tommy Pham had been traded to the Phillies, but he goes to the Diamondbacks, thankfully. Mark Canha goes from the Mets to the Brewers. Not really a seller's market in terms of hitting this year.
Yeah.
It was a big pitching market, which
I thought we were going to end with Teoscar Hernandez
So
for a
did
little
I.
bit there, and I would have liked that. I think not having an optimal year, but given his history, I don't think that would have been a bad acquire whatsoever. I just wanted to throw this at you because I was just like, I wanted to see. I was trying to find this stat about how often the Phillies have been behind this year because it just feels like all the time they're coming from behind. But I did find, the Phillies have, like I said, been in a lot of close games. So the Phillies are in the top 10 in winning percentage in close games according to team rankings. They're number 8 with a .571 winning percentage, which is pretty damn good. Baltimore, Miami, and Atlanta are all in the top 3. Baltimore has a 66.0 winning percentage in close games, which is just unbelievable. Incredibly surprising team at second to bottom. I think you could imagine who the bottom team might be in all of Major League Baseball in close games. They just so happen to be one of the bottom teams in MLB in general.
it's got to be the Oakland A's.
It is the Oakland A's.
Okay.
Second bottom. Any guesses? I will say it is an NL team that is a playoff hopeful, and we're a playoff team last year.
Ooh. And this is bottom level of close games.
Yes, this is a bad winning percentage in close games.
Is it the Phillies?
No.
Okay.
Phillies are in the top 10.
Okay.
Phillies are in the top 10.
That's right. You said that.
It
Okay.
is the San Diego Padres.
That's what's in, baby.
.373 winning percentage in close games. The Cubs also down there, too, with a .385.
Can we just talk about how stupid it was of the Cubs to not be sellers at the deadline?
I think it's weird. It's always tough. Some part of me, I think, always kind of likes when teams keep their players and try and make the push. And the fact that the division is kind of open, they're not just looking at the wild card. And there is 2 months left in the season. I get it. Does feel like a decision though you could look back on and maybe be a little frustrated at. But I don't know. You're what, 3 games back, 4 games back in that division? I think. I don't hate it. But yeah, it does feel like
Just strange.
just feel like in October they could be maybe kicking themselves.
Also
a little
strange
bit,
that the Yankees did not sell any of their rentals.
Yankees are a strange team, and I love it because I've seen Yankees fans complaining about how I hope that they actually miss the playoffs and this will wake this team up, and it's like it must be so hard for you to be a fan of a team that is finally just like a normal team that just kind of sucks sometimes, that just doesn't get
Imagine
the win at
rooting
all.
for a poverty franchise.
Imagine not having a World Series appearance in the last I don't know, year. That's crazy.
Couldn't be us.
That is crazy.
Jack Flaherty goes to the Orioles. I like that move a lot for the Orioles. The Cardinals didn't trade off any of their outfielders, which was rumored all throughout the day yesterday, towards the deadline. Strange move by the Diamondbacks trading Andrew Chafin to the Milwaukee Brewers, with the Diamondbacks still being in the mix for the wild card. That was a strange move, especially since they went and acquired a closer from the Mariners to sell off from your bullpen when Chafin's having a phenomenal year for you was very strange. And you sell him to a team that you're potentially fighting for a wild card spot with in the Brewers. That was a strange, one-for-one move that didn't really compute in my brain.
You don't see a lot of deals like that very often either, where you're looking at someone very close to you and making a move.
The Angels just blew the market open a couple days before the deadline, too.
Bizarre, by the way.
And just, ruined the entire market to beg Shohei Ohtani to stay. They trade for Lucas Giolito, who got absolutely boat raced today as we record this on Wednesday against the Atlanta Braves. Then they go out and trade for Randall Grichuk, which I don't know if you saw this or not. Randall Grichuk, original team was the LA Angels. He gets traded with CJ Cron, both of them from the Rockies to the Angels at a day before the deadline. Randall Grichuk was the first player the Angels took when they had back-to-back picks all the way back in 2009, when the second player they took was Mike Trout.
Well, just two birds of a feather.
Randall Grichuk feels like he's 40 years old.
Almost, Phillies were interested in Grichuk too, weren't they? So
he was thrown around there, but like when I saw that Grichuk was an original Angel, I was like, okay, I kind of remember that. And then seeing that he was the player taken of the first of the two back-to-back picks they had, and the other was Mike Trout,
that.
I was like, Randall Grichuk feels like he's like 37 years old, not Mike Trout's age or anywhere close to us.
You love it.
Yeah, CJ Cron ends up getting traded as well. He was rumored to be a Philly for quite some time. Doesn't end up happening. I think the lack of outfield bat like interest by the Phillies and first base interest by the Phillies is one, coupled that Bryce Harper's doing a fantastic job at first base. Christian Pache is going to be back at some point this season as well. Johan Rojas has come on extremely well, especially defensively for the Phillies in center field. And I think Dombrowski said this to The Athletic, if I'm not mistaken. He said, you don't want to get redundant with what you already have. And I think that's kind of just a message from the front office to the players currently on this team. Like, hey, we have the pieces in place here. You just have to do your part.
I think that was the underlying message to, let's listen to Matt Gelb talk about this, that they really felt like they had a lot of what they wanted already in-house, that they didn't feel a ton of pressure to go out and, make a deal, and that they were fine being a little patient, and I think that's paid off for them. And like you said, too, like, you look around at the competition that we have for the wild card. No one in the National League really made any big splashes. There's a few, like, on the margin moves, but I would honestly say of the wild card teams, especially, like, probably the most active team in addressing our issues. And I think already the Phillies have of pretty much all the wild card teams. I think the best roster, and I think have sort of capped around that now and shored up a little bit of their weaknesses. So I like the aggressiveness. I like that we were aggressive when others weren't, and hopefully that's our game.
Yeah, I mean the Diamondbacks, they get a closer. They trade Chafin. The Marlins did a very strange trade yesterday. 15 minutes before game time, trade off their number 3 and number 8 hitter in the lineup. I also saw a great tweet. The Marlins and Guardians got bad karma because they did wrong by Gene Segura. Marlins traded Segura to Cleveland. Cleveland then instantly released him, and the Marlins lose in effective walk-off fashion with a nice little 2-run bomb by Nick Castellanos on Liam's 10th birthday. And then the Guardians got no hit by Framber Valdez.
How much does Sandy Alcantara hate the Philadelphia Phillies? This man has pitched some of the best games I've ever seen in my life from an opposing pitcher, and is like over 18. It is unbelievable. It is every time he plays the Phillies. It is like it's like the Ohtani Trout thing, where It's like they're doing something since 1936 as they fell 7-4 to the Tigers. That is Sandy Alcantara every time. Like 8 2/3 pitched, 14 strikeouts, 0 earned runs,
no walks.
Marlins fell to the Phillies 2-1. It's just unbelievable.
How badly does Sandy Alcantara just want to be like, can I go over there?
Yeah,
come on, brother.
Literally any
bring
time.
It. A lot of people online clamoring for the Phillies to bring back Gene Segura.
Is that one KBIZZL 311?
As much as I would love Gene back, simply just for vibes alone, look at Gene's stats this year. Now, I don't know if that is because he's playing on the Marlins, and the Marlins just suck you of all your life force to give it to Luis Arraez so he can dance around 400 for the season. But Gene's hitting like 220 this season. Would he be better in a situation that he's more comfortable in, like the Phillies? Maybe. I just don't know if Gene Segura is the answer when you have just acquired Rodolfo Castro, when you have Edmundo Sosa, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott. It just feels like a big old logjam there.
I don't know where he fits in,
Right.
unfortunately.
And, sure, bench bat, but, I think at this point in his career, Gene Segura would much rather be playing as much as possible. Would I like to see it? Sure. Just based on, him being a fan favorite and bringing his energy back to the clubhouse, because anytime the Phillies played the Marlins this year, it felt like Gene Segura was hanging out with the Phillies players more than the Marlins players. But I just don't see where he fits in the equation to give him ample playing time to make it worth his time and worth the Phillies' time to have him on the roster.
Yeah, I love it.
Trying to think of any other big moves that were made. It really felt like it was Mets or bust. You were trading for Mets players or nothing else of high marquee note like last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with there's so many teams still in the mix in the wild card, both American and National League. I was texting Dylan the other day. I think there's only 7 teams in baseball that you could kind of declare dead going into the deadline.
Yeah.
And it's the A's, obviously, the Royals, the Rockies, now the Mets, the Nationals,
the White Sox.
Tigers,
You could
Tigers,
probably.
and maybe the Mariners, because they were buy sell mode and they're such a weird team. But those first 7 are kind of the Cardinals.
Yeah,
They're the dead teams. Everyone else kind of feels like they have a chance to compete, to get into the wild card, to win their division. And I think that throws a lot of things off. And there's not that many expiring contracts this offseason. This is going to be a very strange winter, I think, for baseball, because there's not that many marquee free agents per se outside of Ohtani, where everybody's focus is going to be. So I think that also threw a wrench into the trade deadline, was that there wasn't that many expiring contracts to trade for that would have been worth giving up high level prospects in return.
Yeah, I like it.
So the trade deadline, come and gone. Thrilled with what the Phillies did. Let's take a look at the NL East and, of course, Major League Baseball run differentials. It's brought to you by our friends over at Wasted Wedge. A new age of golf has arrived, and if you're looking to be the talk and envy of your group and create memories with your friends and family, look no further than their lineup of Wasted Wedge products and merchandise on their website, wastedwedge.com. These Wasted Wedges are a blast to drink out of on and off the course, and you guys can check them out at wastedwedge.com or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Wasted Wedge. And because it is National Golf Month, for the entire month of August, you can use code SUMMER23 for free shipping on any orders at wastedwedge.com. That's code SUMMER23 for free shipping at wastedwedge.com. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Wasted Wedge. So looking at the NL East run differential now, Matt, the Atlanta Braves at 69 and 37. They have, I believe, the best run differential in all of baseball at plus 159. They're just on a tirade right now in terms of hitting.
It's going to be so funny when they lose in the first round.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's also, I saw a tweet the other day too. The Braves have effectively been using a 3-man rotation all season.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier.
And a combined $27 paid to each of them.
I can't wait for Rhys Hoskins to come back in the NLDS and just absolutely smoke one off Spencer Strider again. Phillies in second place at 58 and 49. They currently have a plus 12 run differential. The stupid Miami Marlins at 57 and 51 have a negative 25 run differential. Fewest runs in the division by a wide margin. The 50 and 56 New York Mets never gets old. They have a negative 11 run differential. And the best part, too, for yesterday to end the way it did, the Mets lost on a walk-off balk.
Mm-hmm.
It was just beautiful.
We played quite a few games against the Mets down the stretch.
Yes, we do. There's a 4-game set at the end of September, and then the final season series at Citi Field.
Yeah, maybe they just give up hope.
And then the stolen franchise Washington Nationals at 46-63 have 468 runs scored this season, but they have a negative 93 run differential on the season. The NL Central is just so stupid. The Cubs are one game over 500, but have a plus 67 run differential. They scored like 20 runs the other night. The Reds, Brewers, Pirates, and Cardinals, all with negative run differentials, and the Reds and Brewers are ahead of the Cubs in the standings. The Colorado Rockies with the worst run differential in the National League, and slowly creeping into second place overall in baseball. They have a negative 160 run differential on the season, and still somehow try to get cute and try to bring up the April series against the Phillies when Bryce Harper wanted to fight their corny dugout.
Tough
scene
out there.
The Oakland A's, worst record in baseball, have given up a league-high 649 runs this season, which, again, the Rockies are creeping up on the runs against of the Oakland A's at 627. The A's have given up 649.
It's the race so we didn't know we needed, but here we are.
And then the Kansas City Royals, also in the basement, they've given up 168 runs on the season. And every team in the American League East has a positive run differential one way or the other, ranging from plus 142 to plus 2.
The AL East is a minefield, and the AL Central is where I would love to be. It is a meadow.
AL Central or even NL Central,
yeah.
Like that seems like such a winnable division. And right now, the current state of the wild card as well. The Phillies are the second wild card right now, which, if I remember correctly, the top two wild cards play each other, and then the third wild card plays the worst record of the division winners.
Yes,
because that's what we did last year.
Yes.
So if the season were to end today, Matt, we would have good old fashioned wild card round series with old friend Gabe Kapler.
I gotta tell you, there's no part of me that would enjoy watching the Phillies play the Giants in a playoff series. I'd say that much.
It would bring back core nightmares.
I caught a chill up my back just thinking about it.
Phillies are tied with the Giants in the loss column, but the Giants have one more win going into today. And the Milwaukee Brewers are the third wild card. And then the division winners right now, division leaders, I should say, are the Dodgers, the Reds, and the Braves. And then the Diamondbacks and Marlins are both a half game out of that final wild card spot. So them, along with maybe the Cubs, if they continue to hit the way they are the teams that are kind of in the mix down the stretch here that you're worrying about and kind of keeping an eye on if you're a Phillies fan in terms of the standings and who you're competing against. I mean, Philly's schedule is pretty interesting down the stretch, if I'm not mistaken. You know, you've got the Marlins for 2 more games, which are very important games to this point in the season. This is the most important series of the year in terms of just distancing yourself from the Marlins. Then this weekend starts a long home stretch, Matt. The Phillies are at home from August 4th to August 13th with no days off, which is nice. You're all at home. All these games, though, against the Royals, the Nationals, and the Twins. Very
nice.
Winnable games.
Yes. Should be winning, what? That's what? 11 games?
It's 3 against the Royals, 4 against the Nationals, and 3 against the Twins. So
10 games?
10 games.
Should be winning 7 out of 10, I think.
I think at bare minimum, you should handle
a nice haul.
7 out of 10. And then after that, you have an off day on the 14th. You go to Toronto for 2. Off day on the 17th. You go to D.C. for 3. And then another nice long home stretch of 9 games in 10 days against the Giants. Huge series. The Cardinals. And then Mike Trout and Shohei coming to town.
Well, Shohei can maybe do some apartment searching, some house searching. Get accustomed to his new home.
Before September starts, where September's going to be the Phillies need to lock in month. The September schedule, you start on the road for 6 games at Milwaukee, at San Diego, then you come home play 3 for a weekend series against the Marlins. Then you have 4 games against the Braves with that 9-11 doubleheader.
Gotta love it.
Then you have a 6-game road trip, weekend in St. Louis, and then you go to Atlanta, and then you come home for 4 against the Mets, off day on the Monday, 3 at home against the Pirates, and then you go to Citi Field against the Mets to end the season.
Yeah. So, get your wins in August.
Yes.
Let's put ourselves in a
Rack
good spot.
up the wins. So let's take it from the baseball diamond to the gridiron. It's brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partners of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing, no-frills beer that just got a nice little refresh and rebrand themselves with those nice gold tops, new-looking logo. And they're available in the Philadelphia and now Pittsburgh areas as well. You can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap in the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh areas. Must be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Matt, your thoughts on the Kelly Green jersey reveal?
I've never been a for some people, I'm glad they have what they've wanted for so long, and so I will enjoy their happiness. I got to say, when I saw the first picture online, it reminded me a lot of one of the Jets alternate uniforms from the last few years. It's not quite Kelly Green enough for me. Kelly Green to me was always a little more muted, but I think it looks nice. I think
it does look different in every photo you see.
Yeah, sometimes it looks much more bright. Sometimes it does look a little bit more muted. I would be interested in seeing it in person. I'm sure I will be seeing it in person. I do like the throwback stuff. I think it's popular for every team. So for me, I'm pretty neutral on it. It was not something that I was pining for, but I'm glad that for a very vocal majority of people that they have their Kelly Greens.
They'll be wearing them for 2 games this year. One of them is Sunday Night Football on October 22nd against your Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins are depriving us of a nice throwback Sunday Night Football. They will not be wearing their throwbacks during that game. Hopefully they
no helmet Dolphins messed up.
They flex that for themselves. And then they'll also be wearing them November 26th at what might be the day of the apocalypse, because that's when the Buffalo Bills come to town.
Could be. I would hate to be a table in the tri-state area.
Instead of hide your kids, hide your tables.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 games that Kelly Greens are going to be worn at. I love the ridiculous training camp stories that come out each and every year. I'll start with the funnier one that is with a former Eagle. Did you see the quote from Mack Hollins this past week where he said he doesn't use utensils when he eats? He said, use your hands. That's what they're there for.
What? There's not that many foods that you can eat with your hands. Listen, I am not one of these people that's like, sometimes you gotta use your hands. I get that. I like a finger food and a sandwich, all that kind of stuff. Cool, go for it. But there's a limit to what your hands can really do without it just being. I'm just imagining him just trying to eat like rice, like you just digging in with your little paws. I cannot abide by that.
Here's the full quote. Just eat with your hands, the new Falcons wide receiver said. That's what they're there for. Further, utensils aren't merely unnecessary in Hollins' perspective on dining etiquette, but possibly a sign of weakness. Quote, I think that makes you soft, he said Friday after the Falcons finished practice. But that's a whole nother discussion, what makes you soft and what doesn't.
Well, judging by that, I think maybe he was joking. If not, I think he's been watching a little too much Andrew Tate. That's my.
Also said, if you can't eat with your hands, you shouldn't be eating it. To which the reporter said, soup? ? And he said, you shouldn't be eating soup. You've never seen a lion eat soup. You've never seen a gorilla eat soup. You've never seen anything savage eat soup.
I think lions would love soup.
Yes.
Number one. And I'm sure gorillas would too.
I would love to see a gorilla eat soup.
I'm sure they have. I'm just bizarre.
The line of
next.
You've never seen anything savage eat soup. Have you seen us?
There's literally not a more savage and depraved animal on the face of the earth than human beings. So I don't know what to tell you, Mac.
Did you see the clip of him too? He does not look human anymore. He is bulked up
Oh, I'm
to
sure it's totally natural. I'm sure
ridiculous levels.
I'm sure him and the Liver King have been
That's what he looks
been
like.
chopping it up. So
I gotta find this picture of him. It might be on.
I'm sure it's all natty. Nothing to worry about.
And then the other quote seems like one of those fabricated Jeff McClain type stories that comes out every training camp for the Eagles. He's pushing this narrative, which sure, I think you can make the argument, and I think Mark Cuban said this, like, if he could, he'd pay Luka Doncic $200 million a year, but you just can't, and he'll always be underpaid because that's what he's worth, but you can't pay a player that. Jeff McClain put a story out that Hassan Reddick is being underpaid and undervalued and everything, and Hassan Reddick said, I think my play speaks for itself. We'll let the things play out the way they need to be.
Didn't
and
he
now
just sign a contract last summer?
Yeah.
Listen.
And Hassan Reddick is like trying to make it a non-issue whatsoever. Smart by him. Of course he's going to seem underpaid after the season he had.
When you have a historic season yourself, a part of one of the best sack teams ever. Yeah, naturally. But it's been a thing. So Zach Martin is still holding out for the Cowboys. Listen, I am never going to be like pro owner on that side, but this is why like athletes should always take the most money. You should never take the team friendly BS deal. You're seeing it with Jonathan Taylor right now about like gentlemen's agreements and all this stuff. Same with Josh Jacobs. Like, take the money. Like there's no shame in it. You're not a bad teammate for getting your true value. Hassan Reddick is paid well and got paid last year. Like, and I think maybe he understands that. So,
here is the video of yoked Mack Hollins. That when I saw it, I was like, "There's no way that's him," but there's Mack Hollins.
Yeah, he's on trend. 100%. He looks like tan Clay Matthews.
Like, does not even look human.
Yeah. Well,
who knows? The nice thing about training camp though is that every single day there is a new catch of the year candidate, and they just pop up every single day, and it's so funny watching people like overreact to training camp catches.
It reminds me of like the first time you go to the zoo as a kid and you see like a lion or a gorilla for the first time in your life. You're like, wow, these things are big and massive and scary. And these people go to camps, and for the beat writers, it's like they go there every year and they're like around the players, but so I think they forget a little bit. They're like, wow, turns out professional football athletes are like really athletic. It's just always, come on.
And people get duped on it by like the most random players every year. We had it a couple years ago with Jalen Reagor. He makes that one-handed Odell-esque catch, and look what happened with him. But the overreaction to training camp catches and interceptions and everything is hilarious to me. So yeah, that's the fun part about training camp across the board. But a little bit of Sixers news dropped today. Apparently, Monstetrez tore his ACL.
MCL as well. So not a good injury to be dealing with at his age too. Like that's a little tough. This is a guy too that I think has lost a little bit of that burst in athleticism. So hopefully he recovers well, and this doesn't affect him too much. But it's hard to see this not affecting him. So Sixers do have options, on what they can do. You can apply and get a disabled player exception. So that might be the avenue they go here, but not great, but this is also why they signed like 7 centers this summer. So it's all good in the end.
What do you make of Daryl Morey just going full troll mode on the internet this offseason? Continues to just respond to, most notably, Ricky Sanchez and Mike Levin about the roster, and
he's given Elon Musk energy, and it's a little tired.
Cringe.
It's a little tired now.
It's just very weird for a
Lay
front
epic
office.
Harambe meme. Like, we get it, Daryl Morey. You're very online. We know.
Like, it's just very weird for a front office executive to be doing that, in my opinion. It's not Jim Irsay levels of craziness online, but it's not great. And it's also even like more like gross because it's always like responses, so you don't see it on the typical timeline rundown on Twitter. It's always in a response to somebody, so you have to like tab over to see all of that. Just go make the roster better.
Do your job.
Do it. Just don't be a reply guy.
You can't help it. It's in his DNA.
Last bit here, Philadelphia Union. It's brought to you by our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, who now have an all-new app that you can download in the App Store. And just for downloading it, you can claim a free pair of sunglasses. And you can peruse the app just like the traditional website. Look for your sunglasses, your blue light glasses, your prescription lenses. Tomahawk Shades is the place to go for them. They are a fraction of the cost of the big eyewear companies. And if you lose your sunglasses, they break, they're not what you want, they have a great refund system as well. That is a lifetime guarantee. So go to tomahawkshades.com or download the app. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com. Union are on to the round of 32 in the League's Cup. They match up with DC United on Thursday night at 8 p.m. How we feeling, Matt? How we feeling about the Union in the League's Cup?
I feel good. They dominated their group play and won pretty convincingly all three matches, which is a good sign. And that's been the case for a lot of the MLS teams. Got through their group stages and put on a really good showing. And DC United, not a great team. You expect that the Union can win that, and this is again an opportunity for the Union to progress and get to a potential final here. So you love to see that.
Yeah, and then like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, Union's MLS schedule picks back up August 20th against FC Dallas, and then they'll see DC United at the end of August as well. That's all we got for you guys on this one. Nice little trade deadline recap. Welcome to Philly, Michael Lorenzen and Rodolfo Castro. Shout out to Bailey Falter. Wouldn't have gotten to the World Series without you, brother. Enjoy the other side of Pennsylvania. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook.com/UndergroundSportsPHI, and Twitch.tv/UndergroundSportsPHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow and lets us do more cool stuff that we want to do for you guys, with you guys. So go subscribe. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. Every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. We are currently at 521 subscribers as of this recording. Go subscribe. We need to get to 600 subscribers by the end of August. That is our next initiative push there on the YouTube channel. So go subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. And big thank you to the City of Vineland, our presenting sponsor of this podcast. And whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or are a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process. And their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. Be sure to also get your merch, phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off any and all merch orders. And this has been episode number 556 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt and KB, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.